Hey everybody, this is Fred Richani of TSC News here with an exclusive interview with new WWE Hall of Famer Diamond Dallas Page. We're going to be talking DDP Yoga, his WWE Hall of Fame induction, his legendary career, and much, much more. So let's not waste any time. Let's dive right in to our interview with Diamond Dallas Page as he talks about getting back in the WWE fold.
Well, I think coming off the war, I know coming in there, and I did in 2002, maybe it was 2001 when I came in, I didn't realize all the heat that there was there, But, we almost put them out of business. It was really close to us actually winning the war right before that swing. And, the whole Austin Vince McMahon angle got red hot, So coming in there was a lot of tension. I didn't really know until I got there. But as time went on, it dissipated. It started to go away, and that's when they invited me to come in to do, the very best of Nitro and host number one. And we sold really great, the very best of Nitro, because the fans were jonesing for something at the time. And so much so that we had a Best of Nitro 2, then a Best of Nitro 3. And that's where things were really starting to loosen up with WCW and WWE because in the beginning, when I first got the script that they wanted me to do for WCW, the very Best of Nitro, when they sent it to me, I never called them back. And about 3 days later, the producers called me back and they were like, Diamond, so did you get the script? And I said, yeah, I got it. And they said, so what do you think? I said, I think you don't want me to do this. They're like, no. We really want you to do this. I go, well, were you there in 96, 97, 98? He's like, oh, yeah. The producer he used to be watching our show and tell Kevin Dunn what we were doing, as we went through it. And same thing we did. And I said, well, then that we really kicked your ass for almost 2 straight years, right? He's like, yeah. I go, well, I'm not going to say some of the stuff that you want me to say. I get that, history is written by the winners, but I'm just not going to say this stuff because we kicked your ass for a while there. And I'm not going to make it look like we didn't know what the hell we were doing. And he goes, oh, no, dude, if you got a problem with stuff, just change it. And I was like, really? He's like, yeah. So I did. And it took Michael Hayes literally actually calling me up and telling me, listen, this is like the shoot, they're not trying to screw with you. Because I was shell-shocked, from coming in there originally. But then the next one, the Best of Nitro 2 went even smoother. And the third one, they were putting over WCW. And you could tell that it was starting to change. And, then I've always been asked, to the best of, if they're doing the 1000th episode of Raw, I was one of the guys they brought in. I've always, been invited to different things that, that WWE's done. As one of the legends. And if you look at the guys that they invite, almost all of them are Hall of Famers, or future Hall of Famers. And, then when they brought me in and Triple H, this was a blessing, in disguise. We're doing another documentary that I'm not sure what we're going to call it, but it's really it's an inspirational movie about the company, the DDP Yoga company, because it took 12 years to become an overnight success. And the trials and tribulations that go into that. It's more about business and, how hard it is to actually do a startup business and really explode it like we have. And, it's a really inspirational story. And we talk about that this one part where it was an old school Raw, and they brought me in to do a bit with Booker. Remember when I did this thing with Booker in the back? And it was literally a little mini infomercial for DDP Yoga. Triple H says, use your DVDs. Do that thing where you pull your foot over your hair. That's impressive as hell. He goes, get your stuff over. And that was going to be the same night that Jake was going to appear, and no one had seen Jake on that TV in 16 years. And Jake was pretty much banished from the company, for all of the negative things that he had done and said about the company. And, so for Jake to be back was a really big deal. And when we played my video part that came up with Booker T and Ron Simmons, it literally shut down our website. That's how many people flipped over, on the website after the show, to see what DDP Yoga was all about. And it shut our website down, which was, thank God that happened, because when we were on Shark Tank 9 months later, we were ready for it. Like, we didn't have one server. We had 25 servers. But the point was that the WWE brought in Jake as well. And then the next, that year, I ended up getting to induct Jake into the Hall of Fame. And of course, Scott goes in too. And anybody who's seen the resurrection of Jake the Snake knows that story. Where those guys started and where they were as they were getting inducted and being brought back into the family, so to speak. And then they brought me back for the Rumble. Here I am at 59 years old. 2 days. I think this was about 2 months before my 59th birthday. I'm in the Rumble, and then the following year, 2 days before my 60th birthday, I'm in the Andre the Giant Battle Royal. Part of the biggest crowd ever drawn, 101,000 people, there for WrestleMania. And it was amazing. And then to go in for the Hall of Fame, this year, it's like, if you could have given me an opportunity to go back to 2001, 2002, and say, okay, we're going to be People's Champion against People's Champion. And me and Rock are going to have this amazing angle, which is what I wanted to do. But, it would have beat the hell out of my body, because I was really beat up by that time, too. So I don't know how much longer I could have lasted, maybe a year or two max. And if you give me the opportunity to do that, or to come back in my mid-50s and get this amazing push into my 60s, leaving a Hall of Famer, I'm going to take that second choice every time. So I'm really glad the way things worked out. And everything happens for a reason. And every negative thing that's happened in my life, and probably the biggest was in, right at the end of 98, going into 99, I blew my back out. I just signed a multi-million-dollar 3-year deal. And I'm being told by the spine specialist that I'm never going to wrestle again. 3 different spine specialists. I mean, it was one of my darkest moments in my life. It turned out to be the best thing that ever happened to me, because out of that came DDP Yoga. And it just didn't turn my career around. Chris Jericho is the best example I can give of a guy who's 46 out there bumping around like he's 23. And just a host of other athletes and regular people, and people who it's not only saved and changed their lives, it's saved their lives. In the case of Jake the Snake Roberts and Scott Hall, they'll tell you that. So right when something seems its darkest, it can be the best thing that ever happened to you. So again, if it hasn't happened yet, it's on its way to happening. That's the way I see it.
That's an awesome story, man. And you did get that call, I believe, from your longtime friend Triple H. And I feel like Triple H has not only done a great job with the future of the company and the president of the company with NXT, and a lot of the NXT guys have had success on the main roster, but he's also done a great job of kind of reliving the history, kind of keeping that history alive, whether it be WCW or NWA or AWA. He's a true student of the game. How big of a role do you think Triple H played in keeping WCW's name alive today?
Oh, absolutely. Let's take it back further than that. I mean, if there's anyone who was banned, and I mean really banned from the WWF, or let's call it WWE, because that's what it is today, it's the Ultimate Warrior, and so thankful that he got to come back and they got to mend the fences, so to speak, before he died. so that the Warrior can live on forever. And, that's a lot to do with Triple H. So many of the things that have happened, because he respects the guys who came before him, and we were there together in the WCW when he was 22. I was 35. And he was there when they wouldn't let me manage guys anymore. And now I'm going to go to be a wrestler. Well, he was one of the guys who was down the power plant all the time. So he saw it. And what was really cool was, in my DVD that's for sale right now, Positively Living, they did a great biography, about my whole life, before they lead into my matches. And, it wasn't like the best of, it was a lineage of my first pay-per-view match, which was semi-watchable, to actually that was a tag team match with me and the late, great Michael Graham against Bill Kazmaier, the strongest man in the world, and Jushin Thunder Liger. Like, you want to talk about 4 different styles, and a hodgepodge group together. But that's my first pay-per-view match, and they do them up through the years till they get to my really good stuff, which is really an interesting way to watch someone's career, because it's really sort of a biography of your work in the ring. And, the whole Positively Living thing, we were filming, it was the last hour we were filming, and then I got the phone handed to me by the producer, said, the boss wants to talk to you. And it was Triple H. And he just saying, hey, man, how you doing? And I had called him about a month before and was I'd left him like 2 messages, maybe 3. He called me back once. We were playing phone tag, so I thought this was that call because it was October. And I knew, anyone who I've ever known who's been inducted in the Hall of Fame, nobody ever found out before January because they like to keep it really inside and don't want people to know. And until they want you to know. And so I didn't think anything. It's funny because Sean Waltman was like, come on, D, you're Diamond Dallas Page. You had to be thinking, like, they're going to induct you. Like, this had to be the call. I was like, no. I didn't think it, and mainly because my mind was, I was trying to think what I called them for, and I couldn't remember. So that's where I'm thinking, oh, my God, Triple H finally called me back. What the hell did I call him for? Think. While he's talking and I'm talking and I'm trying to think about what the hell I wanted to ask him. And then he sort of goes from my hometown. It must be great being in your hometown and blah, blah, blah. He starts talking about my career. And he mentions, I'm thinking, what is this guy thinking? Like, he's 35, almost 36 years old. He's just starting. I'm 22, and it's hard for me. And then he goes on to put me over so much. While he's talking, I start thinking, man, is this that call? Could that possibly be? And then he told me, So unbelievable, magic memories. Magic moments, I call those, like a moment in time that happened. And not only is it burned into my brain, I'll never forget it. I hand the phone to the Michael, the producer, and he goes, so what do you think? I'm like, what do you mean, what do I think? I go, I think it's awesome. I go, but I think, I wish you filmed him. And he was like, oh, yeah, we filmed him. I go, seriously? He's like, yeah. I go, that's amazing. He goes, yeah, it's going to be the end of your biography. That's how they were going to end it. And I'm thinking, wow, what a way to button that whole thing up, So pretty cool, man. That's how they would end my biography.
Well, it's the first really high cardiovascular workout with no impact. There's no impact on any of your joints, and that secret of it is dynamic resistance, which is engaging your muscles, sort of like a bodybuilder. And you saw us when everything were engaging, flexing. I would say, hold it up, tension. And when they were moving, they're flexing their quads, they're flexing their glutes. And as you are engaging your muscle, and you'll notice I had them counting 10, 9, 8. I would have them counting down. When you're counting and engaging, it jacks your heart rate up on top of what you're already doing by being in the position. So my key goal is to get someone in their fat burning zone and keep them there the whole workout with no wear and tear on their body. And that's what makes YRG special, especially if you go to DiamondDallasPage.com, and you've seen that video of Arthur, right?
Of course, yeah.
Yeah, it's amazing. But he did level 3, and he did YRG every day. And the guy loses 140 pounds in 10 months. But more importantly, he goes from walking on canes for 15 years.
To walking by himself.
To running. To actually teaching this now. You know, he can do stuff I can't do. So, you know, what it really comes down to is anyone can do it. And you see the one kid who had multiple sclerosis. And he's out here he couldn't even barely walk coming into this dojo and training with Bill Scott. And he was actually going through the workout pretty amazingly today.
Today was my first attempt at YRG. It was definitely very difficult, a lot more intense than our usual warm-up. I was very surprised what you could get out of just moving yourself and your own tension, how much sweat you could really work up. It was pretty impressive.
I liked it because it's a great workout without the abuse of the body. You know, you're getting a good cardio workout. You're able to, you know, get a good core training. Everything you're looking for whatever you're looking to use it for.
I actually, perfectly honest, I'm 53 years young right now, and my body, I know how to hold back the hands of time, and YRG is a huge part of that. What I put in my body, meaning food and a lot less alcohol, still occasionally I like to party once in a while, but overall I'm really conscious what I put in my body and how I take care of it. This is really the only workout that I do YRG. I'm training I got in the gym the other day, and I'll probably be in it for about 6 weeks just because I'm getting ready for maybe do a movie where they want me to put on like 10 pounds. But I like being at 230 and solid and really flexible, because flexibility is used not just in the body, but in the mind.
I'm Fred Richani with DDP. Check out YRG online. Bang.
Bang.
You appeared on a number of different WrestleManias, of course, early in your career, driving that pink Cadillac. You mentioned it in the WWE Hall of Fame speech. The pink Cadillac is what got onto WrestleMania, not necessarily you. 10 years later, you ended up in WrestleMania 18, defending your European title against Christian in the Toronto Skydome, which was an awesome moment. And then years later, you mentioned before, you end up in the Andre the Giant Memorial Battle Royal. WrestleMania 33, you appeared as a Hall of Famer alongside the Hall of Fame class with Beth Phoenix and Kurt Angle and others. Can you just give us, I guess, your thoughts on how WrestleMania has changed over the years? Because back at WrestleMania 18, I mean, that was nothing to sneeze at. That was like 60-something thousand people, elaborate set. Fast forward to, 12, 13 years later, WrestleMania has become even bigger.
Crazy, man. WrestleMania is the Super Bowl. That when we were there for 32, we just passed 33. So at 32, and it was 101,000 people out in that arena. I mean, wow, that was super powerful, But once you get over 50,000, it's just a lot of people. And the production that WWE does, it's second to none. Like the Super Bowl ain't got nothing on us. And if you really look back to the days when Monday Nitro and Monday Night Raw, the Monday Night Wars, they were kicking the NFL's ass in the ratings. Their ratings were dropping. Before you know it, you start hearing, seeing the fireworks and the pyrotechnics and all of that when it came to football games. You never saw that before the Monday Night Wars. They were trying to implement that whole thing of the excitement of the crowd, and it's pretty cool how when you see someone, emulating what you're doing. I always say often imitated, never duplicated,
Yeah, and actually you mentioned NFL. I mean, people may not know, too, until the ESPN documentary on the XFL came out. They even took the freaking Skycam from WWE, if you really think about it. That whole XFL Skycam that originated with them.
Sure. I mean, there was a lot of things that the XFL did that the NFL just took because, that was the, brainchild of Vince. And they would have loved for that to happen, but, it's just so tough to start a whole nother football league, but it would be really tough to start a whole nother wrestling league right now. That could ever really compete with the WWE. The only reason WCW could compete with the WWF was because Ted Turner had super deep pockets and he had his own network. So, being able to get talent that at the time Vince thought was used up, a la Hogan and Savage, when those guys probably could have wrestled in their 60s, if they physically could do it and draw,
Yeah, and it's funny because you mentioned about how a lot of these promotions now, they have an uphill battle. They're even remotely trying to compete with WWE, but I've noticed there's kind of been a renaissance on the indies. Not so much for promotions that run week to week or have like a weekly TV show, but the ones like WrestlePro, which you recently appeared at, that run once a month, once every couple months, seem to do pretty well. Why do you think there's kind of been an upswing with the indies?
I don't know. I think some of the talent, some of the guys on these shows have gotten pretty good. Where it's really huge is over in England. Like England, there's so many different wrestling groups over there. I was just talking to Scott Hall, just over his house, and he works with Paige's family. And, they've got their whole TV. They're in Norwich, England. They're really, they do well, and Alberto Del Rio, who I don't know what Alberto's his other name is that he uses, because he can't use Del Rio because of WWE. But, him and Paige are together, and he comes in and just works some of their TVs. He brought Rey Mysterio in the last taping, and Scott's there. Over there, it's really, really big. But if you go to Chicago, there's 5 different wrestling groups, independent groups, 5 of them. It's unbelievable. And these guys are going out there, and the guys who do the shows try to get it as much like Raw as possible. They'll put the big video screens up there, of course, entrance music, some have pyro, the smoke, the whole deal. They even use announcers. Because of the internet, you literally can now film with a couple of cameras, cut a couple promos in the back, and have your own internet show. So I think that's the biggest reason why you're seeing them start to, who knows where it'll be freaking 5 years from now or 10 years from now. Mainly because people have the ability to really do whatever they want to do. Look how many radio shows run, on the air at one point, and now because of podcasts and video podcasts, there must be literally 10,000 times more on-air personality shows like this one that friggin' are everywhere. Everyone can have their own show.
Yeah, man, the world's definitely gotten smaller, and you mentioned the talent. I feel like the talent's gotten really good. That's not to say that in your era there wasn't a ton of talent everywhere, but it's just crazy. You see guys like Ricochet and Will Ospreay and Jay White, who are super young, who are so good at such a young age. I do feel like, though, that even in the case of WWE, there's a whole lot of talent. You can make the argument this is the best roster they've had in a long time from top to bottom, but there's very few guys, at least now, that have gotten to the point where they could be true needle movers. As a guy that was a star during the hottest era of professional wrestling outside of the original Hogan era, what do you think some of these guys and girls need to do in order to get to that next level? Because in the ring, they definitely feel like they're there, but outside of the ring and to the public, I still feel like they got a bit ways to go.
You know, it's like anything, especially when it comes to, especially when it comes to the push. You know, you got to do something that sets you apart. And that's what Kurt Angle's entire speech was about. You know, and at the end with the milk on his head, you know, no one's ever going to forget that. You know, it's like that. All he was trying to do was make a point and be entertaining. And he was both. And that's what people have to figure out how to do. You'll see a lot more people using hand signs now to try to, you know, differentiate themselves from other, you know, people. You know, if you look at, I can never say his name right. Shinsuke, is that how you say it?
Shinsuke Nakamura, yes.
Yeah, Shinsuke, okay. What an amazing talent. But just like how he grabs the rope and flips his back and just the things that he does, he stands out. Forget his work. And his work is superior. You know, I watched some of his feuds that he had over in Japan, and the guy is super gifted. Like, a lot like Rey Mysterio or, Jeff Hardy. He does a lot of things that really beats his body up, yet he still keeps coming. You know, and he's not a muscular body at all, which is another thing about, that you can really be your own animal today, especially with these kids today. So I think, again, it's setting yourself apart. For me, it was the diamond cutter sign and the diamond cutter. Because even though Johnny Ace did a version with one arm, he never took it out of nowhere the way I did. Until he saw me doing it. And then he took what I gave him. I took what he gave me, and then he took what I gave him. You know, and it was the instant spontaneity of that move that would jump people out of their seats, which was really cool. Something like that where you surprise them, and then you give them a way to communicate with you.
Well, I hope you enjoyed part 1 of our DDP interview. We'll be back next week with part 2. Until then, as always, everybody, enjoy the matches.